South Africa, like any other country, has gone through metamorphosis of events that shaped the nation we are today. Part of that was sports, and football in particular. The South African National Party government that legislated apartheid believed that black and white people should not and could not play together or against each other. I suppose the government that believed in the other class being superior to the other could not risk having the athleticism of the other triumph over the other. But South Africans, being South Africans, had sport bodies that continued to organize sporting contests between the two. They say life is about choices. We all are born onto the wild terrain from which we are to carve our path to somewhere or to nowhere. It's always down to individuals. Born in Orlando East, at 16 he was a student at Orlando High and joined Orlando Pirates. The principal of Orlando High wanted him to concentrate on the studies and therefore leave Orlando Pirates. At 16, he was faced with a difficult choice: to leave Orlando High or to leave Orlando Pirates. He chose to leave the former and stayed with the latter. At 19, he went to the United States to play at the famed North Atlantic Football Association, as it was called at the time, which had players from all over the world, particularly in Europe and South America, some of whom had won the World Cup. In his first match, he scored 2 goals against Manchester City in a friendly match. The following season, he scored 16 goals in 16 matches and became the team's top goal scorer. At 19, he came back home to the team he had left. He found that it was not run according to the professionalization he was expecting from a team like that. He left alongside others who believed like him, and at 26, he founded Kaizer Chiefs. Kaizer Motaung was a pathfinder. He was an entrepreneur. He challenged the unchallengeable. He broke barriers. Kaizer Chiefs as a team, to many of you, is just a football club. To many who looked at it differently, would find a black success of a business enterprise. Even today, it's an easily sellable product in South Africa. No brand in South Africa today could equal Kaizer Chiefs. You can think of any. Another one for the record books. At 16, like Motaung before him, he joined Orlando Pirates. Like Motaung before him, he was a very extraordinary talent. Like Motaung before him, he went to the United States. And like Motaung before him, he came back to South Africa to own a football club. Jomo Sono was the first black player to become a brand ambassador of a sports manufacturer, a German sports manufacturer. Even today, there are many players, those who play football would know that there are many who are very happy to wear the name bearing the boot bearing Jomo Sono's name. He, like Motaung, was also a pathfinder. Like Motaung, he broke barriers. These successes of these people who changed the mindset about football, not just being a game, but being a business as well as being an employment provider to a lot of people. Remember, the South African government said black people could only seek employment. They instead gave employment to white coaches as well as the white players. They changed the mindset. They broke the barriers. They, as much as any struggle hero, contributed to the country we have today. These stories were not only confined to South Africa. Anyone who ever witnessed a history moment, a historical moment of any kind, anywhere in the world, you will remember exactly where you were when that took place. I would just think, how many of you here today remember where they were when South Africa was announced as the 2010 World Cup host, or even on the first day when we opened the tournament? Or those who are a little older, where they were when Nelson Mandela was released? I was working. It was on Sunday afternoon. He went out of the gates at 3:03 in the afternoon. So you remember all those things. On one Sunday afternoon in 1996, a rare match of Italian football, which was the first week of the Italian league, a man born on the poor side of his capital's section went to Europe, broke barriers, find pathways, changed the mindset, defended a corner, struggled through several defenders, scored one of the most iconic goals the world has ever seen. A year before, he had been the first from his continent to be both the World Player of the Year and an African Player of the Year. Believing that what he has should be shared with others, and it matters to him if anybody else somewhere in his country doesn't have what he has. He had, from his own pocket, helped his national team to play qualifying matches and paid for his national team to come and play for the 1996 African Nations Cup held in South Africa. Leaving football, retiring, he went back to his country, believing he could make it and make some more contribution by joining the politics of his country. He realized that he was ill-equipped. He went to the United States and got a degree. That man today is being referred to as President George Weah of Liberia. Football made him believe that he could make a contribution to the society he comes from. A few weeks ago, I think it's about 3 or 4, the world saw the genius of a star called Cristiano Ronaldo. He led his team, Juventus, an Italian club, to turn a 3-2 deficit, a 2-0 deficit, into a 3-2 victory. The victory was not just Juventus would now go to the quarterfinals of the richest club cup competition in the world. It also meant that his team is guaranteed 10 million euros. Not only that, the share price for the club rose by 30%, which meant a market capitalization of 1.6 billion euros, which was 10 times more than what the team had paid for him, buying him from Real Madrid at 100 million euros. He had always not been a good story. A year before, when he was purchased, of course, the club share price then rose by 10%. But shortly thereafter, there were serious allegations against him by an American woman, and the share price fell. I'm citing all these instances to show you that as much as society does not want to accept that these footballers and all other artistic stars are as much part of us, and whatever affects them affect us too, they are part of us. Not only their entertainment, but what affects them as well. Cristiano Ronaldo was being accused of all those. Share price fell, and everybody was beginning to ask questions. I'm citing all these instances to say to you, they are part of us. Let's not forget who they are. Let's not forget them. Let's not discard them. There are many stories we have heard, many stories we have read about these young footballers who, when not properly nurtured, become something in future. That very moment where they lost track shapes who they become in future. Think about it this way. A young boy coming from a very poor family. This boy has never managed 10 rand of his own money. He is talented. He gets seen by one of the big clubs. All of a sudden, he gets paid 20,000 rand. His lifestyle is being turned upside down. The world has never prepared him for this. The society from which he comes from has never prepared him for this. Often his agents nor his club prepare him for this. Now, if this boy is the only livelihood earner at home, the roles are reversed. He becomes the authority at home. His own parents cannot call him to order when he gets out of the way. What he does next affects the very same livelihood he has earned. Affects his talent, he loses form, he becomes somebody else he was not. Look at it differently. This young person who comes from a very poor background, who wants to make it big, but an unscrupulous agent comes to the parents and say, you know, he can make it. How old is he? 20? Is there a way in which he could be 17? To you, it's a question of morality. You would never want to do that for the sake of money. For them, it's a delicate balance of the greater good against the lesser evil. The sheer to survive force them to be somebody else they are not. If this agent promises them, if this 20-year-old could become 17, if he goes to play for a team in Europe, there is a guaranteed $10 million every month. What do you do? All these stories are sad because it's happening. I was once told a story by a colleague from Europe. We met in West Africa, and he told me there was an African junior tournament he was covering. There was this beautiful player who was the player of the tournament, and he wanted to do a documentary on him, on his life. He went to his place, having asked directions. He was shocked to find that the woman in his late 30s to his late 20s to early 30s introduced herself as the wife of the gentleman. Well, in today's life, it's not much of a shock. What was shocking to him, however, was that the man he had gone there to interview appeared to be much older for the tournament he had taken place in. And these are the stories, the real stories of sheer to survive, where somebody says, what do I do? Do I become 17 and earn a living, or do I remain my age and struggle? You have seen players who probably come here or to your favorite team, wherever it is in the world, where some of these people are said to have played this or that and that and that team, and he was a top goal scorer here and top goal scorer there, but his age suggests something else. When you do calculations, how could this person ostensibly be 20 and having played for several teams and being a top goal scorer? And when you do calculations, probably he started playing football at 12 or 13. So it doesn't make sense. And when you follow their career path, when they are supposedly 29 or early 30s, they retire. So age cheating is serious. All because these people want to survive. However, it's not all gloom and doom. These people, like all of us, they have a challenge. They are human beings. They want to get whatever they could from life, like all of us, without being prepared to give back. Like all of us, they are short-tempered. They, like all of us, end up being tempted by things that should not tempt them. However, football is as much part of our society as is everything else. In a nutshell, what it means is you're not imperfect as a person because you're a footballer. You're not being imperfect as a person because you're a man or a woman. You're not being imperfect as a person because you are white or black. You're not being imperfect because you are a foreigner or local. You are imperfect because you are a human being. When we tell the story of these people, we at times think it's only those who are from Africa who suffer the same fate. And we don't think of it as something that happens to an ordinary human being. We don't think of it as something that could affect us. It's something that happens there and therefore should not be a matter to me. But it does. Football as a whole plays a very significant part in our lives as a pathway, as a business venture, as an employment provider, of course, as an entertainment. In the words of an American writer, John Ron, the same wind blows on us all, the winds of disaster, opportunity, and change. Therefore, it is not the blowing of the wind, but the setting of the sails that will determine the direction in life. Ultimately, it is not football that directs these people. It is the circumstances around them that determines the people they become in future. Thank you.